Welcome to my library, dear guest. My name is Ko, and I will be your storyteller. Lean back and relax as I read to you today's story, titled, When a God Complex Meets Main Character Syndrome. Problem DM turns into problem player and somehow becomes even worse. By the author, Dazuro. Oh boy, where to begin with this one? Sorry for the length, but this tale takes quite a few turns. So my circle had, a friend who was stuck as a forever DM. He's a decently creative guy, comes up with some clever encounters and puzzles, uses character backstories in unique ways, so no one complained too much, though he's always rubbed a few people the wrong way and started a few small fights due to poor phrasing and selective interpretation of the rules. Nothing game-ruining, but to set the scene, he's been on people's nerves for a while. I should also probably specify that he's terminally ill, so maybe he gets a bit more leeway than he otherwise would. More on that later. So one of his campaigns has been on the verge of implosion for a while. He's had it out for one player, we'll call her Druid, for months. At one point he presented what looked like an open-ended puzzle, but shut down every creative solution we could think of, debuffing and punishing players for everything we tried. So for the next puzzle, we stayed in the hallway and cast a bunch of spells to scope it out, test the wards, etc. And he flipped his lid because we were being cowards and lazy and unoriginal and wouldn't go into the room. One player, the barbarian, quit over the abuse, and the DM was convinced it was for the better because this player was only happy if we were fighting, and he wanted to run a more puzzle-heavy session. Meanwhile, I've dipped my toes into DMing, and he wants to be one of my players to give him a reprieve from DMing. It's been fun, but he has major main character syndrome, and none of the other players are able to actually do much or move the narrative forward. He's doing his damnedest to derail the plot at every possible juncture, and to overpower any other player's ideas. Every one of my players is having issues with him, and when I tried talking to him about it, he just deflected it by saying, "They aren't doing anything. If I didn't take charge, the campaign would never go anywhere." So finally I started implementing more consequences for his actions, and repeatedly punish his character for the stupid things he's doing in character. He argues that I'm picking on him too much, but he's the only one doing dumb stuff, so he's the only one facing these consequences. Actions have consequences, I tell him. Anyway, the next puzzle at his session had a giant chasm with some sort of gravity well mechanic. We tried a bunch of tools and spells to cross it and grab the MacGuffin and return with it safely, and Druid managed to dexterously cross a rope to get back there. But we'd already been in here for a while, like 3 hours solving tedious puzzles, and no one was having any fun anymore. She has a massive plus dexterity bonus and asks if she can just skip to crossing back across the chasm in the interest of time, but the DM insists she roll multiple times and RP for it. Bored, Druid jumps off the cliff with the rope tied around her waist so the rest of the party can pull her up. DM rules that because of the gravity effect, despite her casting Slowfall, this broke her spine and paralyzed her forever, and no mages in the world could fix it. He repeats those fateful arc words to me. Actions have consequences. Oh no. A few more similar events transpire in that session and the next, the details of which I won't bore you with. But at the end of the day, everyone in the party is fed up with him and we decide to just call it there. I'm still friends with him, for the time being, and somewhat having fun, and wanting a campaign to play in besides the one I'm DMing. So I stupidly agreed to migrate my character to his other campaign. The first thing he has our party do is brutally kill off the rest of my former party as a face roll boss fight, followed by a character performing an autopsy on Druid to reveal that she had a brain tumor, which is why she was acting so, quote-unquote, retarded. His words, not mine. So that was in pretty poor taste, but I want to keep playing with my friends, so I keep showing up. His next session featured I summoned 20 gallons of water to put out a fire. The DM ruled that it flooded the entire library we were in. That's enough to fill a medium-sized fish tank. He had previously explained that we could see a staircase down, so I protested that it would have drained down the stairs, even ignoring the part where it wasn't remotely enough water to fill the enormous room. He said that the staircase, which had previously been in full view, was actually covered in a trapdoor with a solid enough seal so as to not drain the water. He argued that our paladin was metagaming by using a reaction to impose disadvantage on an advantage attack, because in character she wouldn't know it was rolled with advantage. Then, at my next session DMing, the apparent BBEG gave the party a chance to join him. Now this dude's character had already been viewed as highly suspect by the rest of the party for a number of reasons, both real and imagined, both in character and personal. This character decides to feign allegiance to the boss, then try to betray him and backstab him. The villain had a time stop ability and paused time to evade and counter his attack, then return to his original position. So from our ranger's perspective, all she saw was the guy walk up to the BBEG, pledge allegiance to him, and then drop to one knee, because she never saw the attack that caused him to fall. So, in character, she decided that obviously she would 100% believe that he was betraying all of us and shot him. And naturally, she rolls a nat 20 and downs him instantly. She then also points out, I don't want to be a dick, I'm not trying to meta too much. I just want to warn you, if my character saw anyone heal him, she'd assume they were betraying the party too, and might shoot them too. I'm torn on this because, honestly, 100% she's right. That's exactly how it would look. But at the same time, it sucked for the players to be told one of you is down for the fight and the rest of you can't save him. If it was anyone else, I probably would have protested or hand-waved some excuse, but this player had been causing problems for long enough that it was... I'm not proud of it, but it was satisfying to see it happen here, and I allowed it. The party killed the boss and stabilized the warlock. I figure, hey, here's his chance to explain himself and figure out how to patch up relations between the characters. But no, he leaps to his feet and starts yelling about, "Where's my knife? Where's my dagger?" Which, in his mind, would prove that he was trying to stab the villain in the back. But to the party, it looked like he was trying to avenge his new master. Honestly, I was proud of them for not metagaming and allowing for the possibility that the party wouldn't always get along and forgive each other just because the players were friends. And the weird thing is, the problem players said he wasn't mad, that he totally understood why the ranger would have reacted that way. We stopped there for the night, and my phone soon blew up with an essay about how his character was going to devote his entire life to killing the ranger now, even if he had to become the new Grim Reaper himself to do so. Long story short, too late I know, Death took a vacation. Anyway, while all of this is happening, there's more drama happening in the original crew yet DM'd for, the one with the druid. You see, they were all originally from a Destiny 2 clan, and he had been bragging in their Discord about a bunch of extremely prestigious accomplishments, complete with screenshots. One screenshot included his opponent's Twitch name, and sure enough, typing that in returned a video of the streamer losing to some of the most blatant hacking and cheating imaginable. So they banned the player from the clan and server, naturally. At this point, he's absolutely lost it and is accusing our barbarian of hacking his account to make him look bad, because they shared passwords for D&D Beyond a ways back. He's claiming that the barbarian is trying to sabotage the DM's Destiny account because he was simping and mad about the treatment of Druid, despite us having video footage proving it was him. He keeps trying to drag us into it to vouch for him, and asking us to help find evidence he'd been framed. Meanwhile, we decide to give the campaign one last session to get some closure on our characters' arcs at the very least, and he spends the entire time hyper-focusing on one other female player. I suppose I should have mentioned, Druid wasn't the first time he'd done that. This was the third or even fourth time he'd have all of his monsters and mechanics target one of the women at the table, even when they had to suffer disadvantage to do so, or when there was a much more appetizing, logical target in play. Anyway, we've had enough and politely inform him that we will no longer be playing at his table, nor will he be welcome at ours. As we're spreading the word about the how and why we've lost a player and a DM within our circles, two of our female players, who did not know each other, by the way, so I know it was legit, come forward saying that they're relieved because he had been... You might want to sit down for this one. Yeah, so turns out he'd been faking the cancer diagnosis to try to coerce female players into flying out to sleep with him before he died. And presumably that's why he'd been focusing his monsters on them so much, to punish them for rejecting him. If the destiny nonsense was the last straw, I don't even know what to call that one. We initiated Operation Fireball, and he's now been purged and mass exiled from basically all of his friend circles. His last words to me were, "You can kick me out, but your campaign's problems won't end with me. You'll see." I'm still not sure what I'm supposed to see. We're having a blast now. I did bring his character back as an NPC briefly because I thought the whole becoming the new death to exact revenge on the ranger would make an interesting arc, but the will of the dice eviscerated him before he even got a turn. It's oddly karmic. I didn't want it to turn into a poor taste former player curb stomp battle like he did with his own campaign, but the dice have spoken. And that was today's story. I hope you enjoyed your stay and that I will see you again soon, for there are always more stories to be shared.